Boys, we are here. The final UFC event of 2025. To close out the ESPN era, we got UFC Fight Night, Royval versus Kape. And, the UFC could have given us a little bit of a better send-off. This fight card there's some good, sneaky good fights on this card. But there's a bunch of unknown guys, there's a bunch of debuting randoms, and just all around, there's a whole bunch of mid on this card. But with that being said, like we do every single week, we're going to go through every single fight on this card and give you guys my rare predictions on who's going to win and how. With that being said, let's get into this. Starting up the card, women's flyweight division. This is what I'm talking about. Jamey-Lyn, Tereza, Bleda. Now, Jamey-Lyn is a well-rounded fighter. She has decent finishing ability, decent striking, grappling with a brown belt in BJJ, strong positional control. Her head movement, though, non-existent. And she has struggled in the past with some back injuries, long layoffs, questionable cardio, as well as she can struggle against strong grapplers, where Bleda is a really good grappler, good wrestling control, takedowns, and she has good top position. She has good takedown defense, ground and pound, as well as she's decently big for this division with a good reach, but her striking is a little bit limited, as well as she doesn't have any real good wins on her resume yet. I just think Bleda is better, and yeah, she hasn't fought anyone really that good, and she hasn't fought in a long time, but I just think she's going to be way better on the ground. Not way better, she's going to be able to hold her own on the ground, but the thing is, she hasn't fought in forever. So who knows if she's still as good as what she used to be. Going to classic women's 29-28 decision. Let's get into heavyweight. A bunch of no names. Two debuting guys. Alton Fry Jr. taking on Guilherme Pat. See, I don't even know how to say these dudes' name. We're going to call him Pat, but Fry is a strong heavyweight. He has good finishing power. He has an aggressive style with a lot of first round finishes, but he's no real submission threat. He's pretty limited in the grappling and submission part of his game, as well as he's pretty unknown with a lot of question marks around his game, where Pat is also a dangerous fighter, good KO power. He's a good size for the heavyweight division, as well as he's a pretty aggressive striker. He has no real submission threats. His grappling and submission game are pretty limited, with a bunch of unknowns, a bunch of question marks around his game. Both these dudes are nothing but unknowns and question marks, and they might not even really be UFC level, but honestly, that just shows how shit the heavyweight division is. It does seem, though, like Pat is overall the better fighter, more athletic. I think he might be faster than Fry, but who knows. Let's go down another women's fight, women's bantamweight. Melissa Croden taking on Luana Santos. Croden is a strong fighter with good KO power. She has multiple TKO wins, and she has some submission threats here. She's pretty tall for the division. She's like a pretty big bantamweight as well, but she can struggle with fighters who are very well-rounded, where Santos is a good BJJ fighter with good grappling, submission skills, with some decent striking accuracy and volume. She has a good frame for bantamweight at 5'6", with a 67-inch reach. Her striking defense, though, very questionable, and she's missed weight before, which is concerning. We don't know how good her weight cuts are going to be. With that being said, Croden I think she's going to be the bigger fighter, and I think she's going to land the harder shots. I could see her rocking Santos over and over again. I don't know if she's going to be able to put out Santos. She definitely could. She does have that KO power and submission threats to finish her, but I just think that she's going to be the more aggressive. She's going to be the bigger fighter out there, and she's going to be hurting Santos every single round in most of the exchanges. I don't know if she's going to be able to put away Santos, so another classic women's 29-20 decision win. Melissa Croden getting it done. Let's get down into heavyweight. Sharaf taking on Steven Asplund. Again, a bunch of debuting guys. With that being said, Sean is a well-rounded fighter with good grappling, scrambles, but he has no real defensive awareness on the ground, with okay cardio and pace, but he does have good composure under pressure, which is good for heavyweight. He is one of these weird heavyweight fighters, though, with no KO power at all. As well as his striking defense is pretty bad, and he can get hit a lot in these exchanges. And he can be he can't be out-wrestled by fighters who are decent or good wrestlers and grapplers. Steven is a strong wrestler, good takedowns, durability. He has a really good chin, strong pace, good forward pressure, great cardio to go all 3 rounds. He also has strong control on the ground, and his striking is pretty predictable, and he can be countered pretty easily by a good counter striker. With that being said, Sharaf he just isn't that good. I think Steven's cardio is going to break Sean. If that, I think he could get down. I think he might even be able to take Sean down and get him out of there early, round 1 TKO. But I think we're going to see a late 3rd round KO after Sharaf is just gassed out because he has no cardio. So I'm going round 3 for Steven. Let's keep going down the welterweight division. Neil Magny taking on a new coming guy, Yaroslav Amosov. Now, Neil Magny is the gatekeeper at welterweight who is fairly well-rounded. He has a great reach, good striking volume, decent accuracy. He has a good jab, good leg kicks, good durability, cardio, pace. His takedown defense is good with okay accuracy, where Amosov is a really good wrestler with good grappling control, great cardio, good pace, high fight IQ, good high IQ in his striking. He is good under pressure and is effective at, dictating the pace, but doesn't have that much power, and he can struggle with good wrestlers or people who can just stuff his takedowns, as well as he's a new guy. He doesn't really have any experience with high-level opponents like Neil Magny does. And I refuse to pick a newcomer making their UFC debut. I refuse to pick that guy coming in here against the gatekeeper of Neil Magny. Neil Magny's going to win this fight 29-28. I think he can stuff the takedowns and keep this on the feet where he might be able to dominate this fight. But I just refuse to pick a debuting guy over Neil Magny. Let's get into featherweight though. Featherweight, Joanderson Brito taking on Melsik. I ain't gonna even try to pronounce this dude's last name. I've always struggled with it. But let's get into Brito. He's a very fast twitch fighter with some good grappling. And if he gets the fight to the ground, he has so many different submission threats that he can go to. He's one of the most underrated featherweights in my opinion. Yes, he hasn't had the most success recently. He's on a bit of a losing streak. Melsik is a very aggressive striker with a professional kickboxing background. He is always moving forward. He has a diverse set of striking skills, good forward pressure, power. He has a good diversity in his striking, but his grappling is just the biggest hole in his game, especially the takedown defense, where Brito, honestly, I could see Brito piecing him up on the feet if he's having trouble on the feet, mixing the takedowns. I don't know if he even needs the takedown. Brito is just so good. And I feel like this is a good bounce-back win for Brito. It's a good stylistic matchup for him. We look at the guys that he's losing to recently. Pat Sabatini, William Gomez. He's struggling on the ground with these fighters where, I don't think he's going to have the same problem against Melsik. I'm not going to lie. I think he's going to dominate this fight. I think he's going to catch Melsik and get a round 2 KO here. I'm going Brito. Again, one of the most underrated fighters, especially in featherweight. Let's keep moving down, though. Women's strawweight division, Amanda Lemos, Gillian Robertson. Lemos is, a former title contender, has good Muay Thai. She's fast, accurate, good, powerful hands for the division. Her cardio isn't the best for 5-rounders. It's a good thing this is a 3-rounder. Her grappling defense has shown to be the biggest weakness in her game. But it looks like it's either she's improved massively or Tatiana Suarez just isn't as good as we all thought she was. Because I remember Lemos being able to stuff a lot of Suarez's takedowns and get back up for them. That being said, Gillian Robertson is a very high-level grappler with the most submissions in UFC women's history. She's dominant on the ground, good control, some of the best ground and pound work in all of women's MMA. She's very dominant on the ground, but she can at times get lost on the feet, with poor accuracy, poor volume. And at the end of the day, you're either picking the striker or the grappler. I'm going with the grappler of Gillian Robertson. She's got that dog in her, and she will constantly go for a takedown. And she will get it. I strongly believe she will get the takedowns on Lemos. And once she does get it, she will dominate the round from there. I think she's going to submit Amanda Lemos, honestly. I'm going round 3, rear naked choke, Gillian Robertson, having that dog in her, not being able to get the first takedown, but she will eventually get it. She might get stuffed the first few, but she will get it. and she will outdog Amanda Lemos. Let's get into the main card now. Heavyweight division. Kennedy Nzechukwu taking on Marcus Buchecha. I hate trying to say these crazy ass names, but Kennedy, a powerful striker who has some good takedown defense. He can be overly patient at times with low volume, but since moving to heavyweight, he has looked a lot better than at light heavyweight. It's like he hit a new prime, or maybe he was just supposed to be at heavyweight the entire time because heavyweight is such a garbage division right now. But Marcus is a 17 times BJJ black belt with some crazy, I think he has like 128 submission wins in his career with some dangerous arm bars, kimuras, rear naked chokes, heel hooks. He's dangerous on top with some powerful double legs, but he does tend to heavily rely on his grappling and submissions, as well as he can gas himself out pretty quickly. And if his takedowns do get stuffed, he has nothing else. You know, he's BJJ or bust, to be honest. But I could see Kennedy 100% KOing Marcus here, but I just think that Marcus is going to be able to get this fight to the ground. And once it gets to the ground, I think he's finding a finish here. I think we're going to see a pretty late, last minute, last few seconds of round one submission win here for Marcus. I think he's going to get the fight to the ground, but if he doesn't, if we're seeing that he's struggling to get these takedowns, we live bet Kennedy by KO. Let's keep moving down. Featherweight division, a banger. This is a great fight. Costa taking on Morgan Charriere. Costa, another one of these underrated fighters. He's honestly one of my favorites unranked fighters in featherweight, but he's a very well-rounded fighter. He has some creative and dynamic striking with good grappling skills and is fairly strong for this division. His takedowns aren't the best, but he does have some good, powerful hands, solid technique. He can mix in combinations very well. Where Morgan Charriere is a explosive striker who is very light on his feet, always stalking his opponent with solid takedown defense. He has very explosive movements and will full-on leap into his strikes and some other good dynamic strikes. He's also very good at controlling and tying up his opponents. This is a close-ass fight. This is a razor-close fight, but Costa's my guy. He's been looking so good recently in his last few fights. And honestly, this dude should be looking at a ranking spot, in my opinion, especially if he beats Charriere, which I do think he's going to do, even though I do think Charriere is going to be the bigger guy out there. I think Costa does enough to get it done. I think he's more well-rounded. I think he's better on the ground. On the feet, it might be a toss-up, but I think he's going to be faster than Charriere. I'm going with Costa. Costa in his last few fights honestly just looked better than Charriere in his last few fights. Let's get down to middleweight, though. Middleweight, Cesar Almeida taking on Cesar Oleksiejczuk. Again, I can't pronounce these names for shit, but Cesar Almeida, a former kickboxer. One of these dudes, you look at the career of this dude, and it always comes up that he has a win over Alex Pereira in kickboxing. He has clean striking, good power, timing, footwork, good combos. Unless he's up against the cage, he can't defend a takedown though to save his life. With that being said, Cesar is a brother of Michelle Oleksiejczuk and is a dangerous striker, good KO power, aggressive style. He has good fight IQ and finishing instincts with okay grappling and takedown defense. But he can be a little bit reckless under pressure, as well as his cardio is a little bit worrying. Again, this is another really close fight. I could see Almeida catching Cesar just moving in wildly. He can be reckless at points. I can see him getting caught by being reckless, but I think I'm going to pick the younger, less battle-worn, I think the faster fighter in Cesar. I think he's going to catch Cesar Almeida round 2 KO. It could go either way, but let's get into I believe this is a co-main. Yeah, co-main, featherweight division. Chikadze taking on Kevin Vallejos. Now, Giga, kickboxer, karate fighter who is constantly switching stances and has good feints to create these good openings with sharp counter striking, and is good at controlling the distance and the pace of the fight. But he does struggle against opponents who are constantly pressuring him, mixing in wrestling effectively, where Vallejos is a powerful striker, very good speed, but his grappling is one of the weakest parts of his game. But he's only 23 years old, and he will be making huge improvements. Like I've been saying with Joshua Van, every time we broke down Joshua Van, I said he's going to be getting better and better every single time he gets into the octagon. Dude's champion now. He's 23 years old. He's just going to be getting better and better every single time we see him in the octagon. And in my opinion, Giga is one of the worst ranked, I guess not even just featherweights, but just one of the worst ranked fighters in UFC. I am not a fan of Giga. I think he's overrated, and I think he's on the way out. I think, again, 2026, I want to get rid of all these unks, and Giga is one of these unks. And I honestly can't remember the last time I was impressed by a Giga fight. Maybe it was against Edson Barboza back in like 2021. But since then, the Calvin Kattar fight, then after that, he beat Alex Caceres. Good for him. But then Arnold Allen, David Onama, he just hasn't looked the same. He's 37 years old. I don't think he's going to be much of a threat against Vallejos. I'm going with Kevin Vallejos finding a KO here. I'll go round. Again, he's 21 years old. He's going to be making so many improvements. I'm going to go round 1 KO, Kevin Vallejos, being the only fighter to knock out Giga in the UFC. Let's get down to the main event. The very final fight of the year and the final fight of the ESPN era. Flyweight division. Brandon Royval, Manel Kape. Now, Royval is an unorthodox, high-volume striker with unpredictable angles, with some aggressive grappling, slick transitions. He has good submission threats and is constantly moving forward. He has a high fight pace. He is dangerous in pretty much any position with really good finishing instincts, but he can be a little bit wild in his striking, leaving him open for counters like we saw with Joshua Van, and he does struggle against stronger and heavy control grapplers, where Manel Kape is a very fast and explosive striker who is almost looking for the knockout every single second of the fight. He has good pressure. He has the ability to bounce in and out of range really, really well, as well as he's just a decent wrestler. He's fairly well-rounded if he needs to be, and if he doesn't want to, have his ego in the way and just strike, he is well-rounded enough to take the fight to the ground. I think, like most of Royval's fights, he will be outlanding his opponent, but I think Manel Kape's going to land harder, and if he needs to, he will be able to get this fight to the ground, and he'll rack up control time. I don't see him submitting Royval. I could see him landing some good ground and pound, but I think, it's a 5-rounder, and I think Manel Kape, with the power he has, he will find a shot to put down Royval. And I think he's also going to mix in the wrestling. I think we're going to see a round 4 KO from Manel Kape. And after this, I honestly want to see Royval try out, the bantamweight division in 2026. But those are my final predictions. Hopefully we ace this card, because then we can look at my predictions for the whole year, because I've been writing down my wins and losses. I'll let you guys know on the fights to make next I'll try to get it on Saturday. I'll let you know my wins and loss percentage. But thank you guys for watching to the end of the video. What do you guys think of this final card of the year? Who do you have in that main event? Thank you guys for watching to the end of the video, and I will see you guys in my next video.